why DevOps has been so popular now is, uh, in one way, we have overcome the traditional limitations of software, hardware,
Mm.
and technology. And with it comes the limitation we had in the past with the ways of working. So we actually, what we are doing is we started looking at newer ways to explore, how we run and drive projects, right? So we have taken a shift from waterfall to agile. Now, when we started doing that, what happened was, okay, agile is a way of working. It is something which breaks down your delivery components into smaller parts, smaller increments, and then you have inculcated or introduced faster feedback loops.
Mm.
But think about it. If your organization do not have the infrastructure components, or do not have the delivery capabilities to drive this kind of agility, what would happen? So that's the reason why DevOps became more and more popular. That, okay, now we are into an agile era.
Mm.
How we can simplify our operations so that it can cope up with the speed which delivery units have. So
Right.
they started looking at more DevOps oriented practices like continuous monitoring. They also are looking at DevSecOps, how they can introduce security from development perspective, because that can become a bottleneck, right? From
Mm.
in agility perspective. Also, as I mentioned, infrastructure components. If your deliveries are incremental and smaller, how can you actually introduce small increments of infrastructure scaling? And that brought us to a point where we actually started looking at cloud, right?
Mm.
So when we started looking at cloud and adapting to cloud kind of infrastructure, we actually solved one problem, but we also introduced a couple of others. Like, once you have onboarded to cloud environment, what happens is that your deliveries, if they, the software delivery, if they are not cloud native, if they have components which are monolithic, which has heritage,
Mm.
and which cannot be loosely coupled, then you cannot take maximum advantage of the cloud environment you are in, right? So then it created a shift. Okay, now how I can introduce microservices in my environment so that I can loosely couple this whole ecosystem which I have, and I can actually bring more value towards what I have done so far by onboarding cloud to cloud, right?
Right.
So that was a movement and a shift which happened. Now with that, what came in was, okay, now you have loosely coupled everything. Then you have a different kind of practice which is needed for security, because it is no longer dependent on a user and machine interface, because every microservice becomes a user.
Right.
So now you need to embed security in a way that every loosely coupled component can be secured, right? Your
Mm.
IDM, identity access management systems are changing. The security practices are changing. And this technology shift will actually be progressive. So I'll also talk about, like, what is happening next. uh, People are saying, okay, I cannot be limited to one cloud. So the hybrid cloud use cases have come into life, right?
Mm.
So people are thinking about, okay, I can archive my workloads in one cloud environment, whereas I can develop my workloads in another cloud environment. So
Right.
this hybrid cloud environment will bring more challenges in
Mm.
terms of how we collaborate with security, with operations, with development, right? So
Right. Right.
this is big. That is why DevOps is becoming extremely important in today's